Bone, 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 bone. So if you guys follow me on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, anything outside of YouTube, you guys have seen me post pictures on my water marbling experience or my attempt at water marbling. So you guys have requested a tutorial from me, and honestly I'm just not going to do a tutorial because there's 18,000 great tutorials out there already. So instead of doing a tutorial, I just wanted to do a video with basically all the mistakes that I made and some of the tips that I learned while doing this. So before I started, I checked out a couple tutorials. All these tutorials are amazing, but my gripe with them is that it's like cotton candy and unicorns and butterflies. Like, it's like perfect. Like, everything is so easy and perfect, and it's not like that at all when you do it. And so this is exactly why I'm doing this video. Those of you who have followed me for a while know that I'm not the best with nails, and I'm not a huge nail fanatic, but I do enjoy and appreciate nail art. So I'm doing this video from a person that's not a nail maven, and I think a lot of us are in that position when we start trying things like this out. So hopefully this video will be helpful because I'm not a nail person. So my first attempt, I get some water in a bowl and some tap water in a bowl, and I dropped, I think it was OPI done out in Deco, and I dropped a drop into the water, and the shit just fell to the bottom. Like, it like balled up and fell to the bottom. And I was like, okay, that's not what it did on the tutorial. So not all polishes are going to work for this. So just from me trying all my different polishes in my stash and seeing what works and what doesn't, I found that the thinner polishes work better for me. And thinner sometimes means newer also. The older polishes that have thickened a little bit don't seem to work as well. I'm sure if you thin them out they'll be fine, but I just didn't want to do all that. So I found that some of my cheaper polishes actually worked really well. My Wet n Wild, and I believe my Sinful and my Sally Hansen worked really well because they are kind of a thinner consistency, which I actually prefer when I paint my nails anyway, so I do have a lot of thinner polishes. Now, as far as the water is concerned, it is really important what kind and what temperature water you use. I personally like filtered water because the polish will spread a lot more on the filtered water. If you've mastered this technique and you don't need there to be a lot of design space, then I'm sure you can use regular old tap water. But for me, I like the filtered water, and if you're starting out, I probably would recommend the filtered water because the design, the polish actually just spreads out more and gives you a lot more playroom. You don't want to use cold water because the polish will obviously dry quicker and not give you enough time to create a design and put it on your nail. Also, same idea, but don't use quick drying nail polish because it will dry quickly. Now, as far as putting the design into the polishes, I found personally that a toothpick was a little too thick. And I like kind of a clean, precise design. So a needle will work amazingly, or anything that has like a needle point, like a really sharp, precise point. You also want to make sure you clean the needle off as you drag through the design because there will be excess polish that sticks to your needle, and it'll create kind of a muddy, not as precise design if you keep using that same dirty needle. I also noticed that I wanted to kind of drag through slowly. You'll notice some of the polish will dry on the outer ring, and you don't want to kind of drag the design. So what I found after not being so afraid of the polish is if I did kind of quick movements, that the design was actually a lot more precise. So before you even start the design, you want to basically tape up your nails so that your design doesn't get all over your fingers, which I did, and not because I didn't know about taping it, but because I was lazy, and I was like, oh, I'll just clean it off. But oh my god, it's so hard to clean off because it's super thin, and I don't know, it's just like, it doesn't want to come off. And it looked kind of cool. My finger was all, you know, marbleized. But it's not that hard, it's not that time consuming. I was being lazy. So I just put two pieces of tape, one piece of tape across here, as close to the cuticle as you can, and then another piece of tape, a longer piece, where it goes on both sides. So it's going to cover both sides and go across like that. So it's just two pieces of tape. It's not that bad. There are some people that recommend putting cuticle oil or Vaseline or lotion around your finger so that the design won't stick to your finger, but I found that kind of made the water dirty or oily, and honestly, I didn't need any more obstacles in this water marbling thing that I already had, so I found that taping worked for me. All of the tutorials I watched recommended that you dipped your fingernail into the design like this. Personally, I found it was easier to dip my finger through a clean section of water and come up through the design. You guys will find what works for you. And either way, if you dip it or you go under and up, you want to kind of just leave it there for a second and let the rest of the polish dry out and let the design dry on your nail. And it doesn't take long, it's like 5 seconds. And then you want to take a Q-tip or a toothpick, whatever you're using, and kind of clean up the rest of the polish that's around your nail. And that way the excess doesn't stick on your nail when you pull your design out, because it will happen. It happened to me. More so when I'm dipping in as opposed to coming up. But either way, you want to clean off the excess. You might get little tiny bubbles in the design, and what you can do is actually pop the bubbles while they're in the water, and look out for that before you dip your nail into that actual section of the polish. For my nails, which I didn't even show you guys yet, it's really cool because I basically have a different design on each nail. Anyway, for my design, I used a white base coat, and because the design is really, really, really thin, if you use like a white polish or a lighter polish in your design, your base coat will show up through it. So you want to use a base coat that complements your design. So I used white, and it made the white pop more. I also noticed in the tutorials that I watched that they were dipping one finger into the design at a time, and I was lazy, so I stuck 2 or 3 fingers in at a time. I mean, there's plenty of space for you to do that. Probably even stick all 5, but you know, want to control the design. So I did maybe 2 or 3 dips for one hand. So once you pull your nails out of the design, you want to make sure you blow off the excess water, because it will dry kind of funky with like a little water droplet there. So just get all that excess water off. If this is your first attempt, even if it's not, you will probably screw up, and I highly recommend non-acetone remover. So if you screw up a nail, you just take your non-acetone remover and just quickly swipe across your nail, and it will remove the marbling, but pretty much keep your base intact so that you can attempt another marbling design. And that beats, you know, screwing up the base and having to do the base coat over again every single time, because you will definitely give up on water marbling if you have to do that. So that's pretty much it. It's not that difficult once you figure out what polishes work and you figure out what water works for you, what temperature, and the actual technique. But hopefully this video helps you guys out. I really, really sincerely hope it does, because I wish there was a video similar to this for me when I started, because I was sitting pretty frustrated for a while trying to figure everything out. You guys have a great day, and thank you so much for watching my videos. I really appreciate you guys.